Hello, my name is John Tkaczewski. I'm the president and co-founder of FileCatalyst. If you would like more information about file transfer or interesting software development ideas, check out our blog. Or you can also go to the past webinars to resources web at filecatalyst.com/resources/webinars. And there you can get all the previous webinars sorted by topic, industry, use case, and so on. If you This is an introduction, so I'm not going to go too much in depth into any of the products. I'll just give you a good overview of what we have as solutions to offer in the file transfer space. So let's get started. What is FileCatalyst? Well, FileCatalyst is an accelerated file transfer system. We built a custom protocol that is based on UDP, and we manage basically everything that TCP does under the hood, but we manage in our application. This allows us to transfer files really fast over long distances. So this solution is really meant for bulk data transfer over long distances. We have a patented algorithm that allows us to move data up to 10 gigabits with encryption on commodity hardware, and we're not affected by latency, and with packet loss we degrade linearly. That means 5% packet loss means 5% loss of your speed, and not like with TCP, for example, where 5% packet loss could probably potentially mean you're not transferring files at all. We can leverage multiple CPUs. As I mentioned, this allows us to do encryption and 10 gigabits on the commodity hardware, and we have integration with a number of storage vendors. So if you need to move data into your Amazon S3 or OpenStack storage or Windows Azure, we have a solution for that as well. So this gives you a faster acceleration. So let's go back to the basics, and this is sort of the root reason why we created FileCatalyst is that TCP is a great protocol. Internet today without TCP would not be able to work. You would not be able to browse the internet. You would not be able to receive emails. But this protocol was designed really in the late 60s, early 70s, and never took into consideration the amount of data that people want to push today, and also the fast networks. When TCP was designed originally, it was designed for networks, going maybe at T1 speeds, which is what, 1.5 megabits, and the data sets were very small. So obviously there is no need for a very efficient file data movement protocol. So this is what we've built. We've built a protocol that is UDP-based. It allows us to go fast. We slow down very slowly if there's any packet loss or congestion, and we speed up fast if we see the road is clear ahead. So as you can see here, a very simple graphic. With TCP, you're kind of sending a little bit of block of data, and then you have to wait for an acknowledgement. And then you send another block of data, and you wait for acknowledgement. So this creates dead air on your wire, because you're only sending a little bit of data. You're never really maximizing the throughput. And as the distance between the sender and receiver increase, this dead air gets bigger and bigger, and eventually you end up with a very big pipe, and only you're using a very small portion of it. So that's what we do in essence. So this is sort of how it looks graphically, how TCP behaves. This is a very simple graphic of a 100 megabit connection. And as you can see, as RTT, or round trip time, increases, TCP drops in speed, while FileCatalyst stays at the maximum throughput. So that's really, in essence, it's like the more delay is caused by distance, and the higher the bandwidth, then you need FileCatalyst. So of course, if you have a very slow link of 1 megabit and you have very low delay, then FileCatalyst is not going to provide you much benefit on speed. However, as your bandwidth grows and your distance between the 2 points grows, then FileCatalyst becomes very efficient at moving data. So this is sort of how the image looks, how we do it. So it's really meant, our protocol is really meant for bulk data transfer over long distance. You have always a predictable result with FileCatalyst. So you want to send, you have a 10 meg pipe and you want to send files 3,000 kilometers away. Well, you're going to get the full 10 megs with us, and there's going to be no problem. Our protocol also detects the background traffic on the network. So if we detect TCP traffic on the network, we will make it slow, but we'll make it go through. And all of this is as well tunable. So you can decide how much bandwidth you want to use versus, give it be more lenient with TCP. So give it more room versus, squeezing it out a bit. But the idea is that TCP will be slow when FileCatalyst is running, but it will be running. That's the idea. I mean, besides the acceleration on the protocol on the UDP side, we've built a bunch of other tools to speed up file transfers. We have a built-in compression, which adds some value, as well as we have something called multi-client, where we can, we have multiple connections working on a file set. So let's say you point FileCatalyst to 1,000 files, you tell it to use 5 workers, and then 5 connections go simultaneously to transfer the files to get you better speed. We also have something called zip chunking, or ability to combine smaller files into a zip archive. So instead of sending one file, which takes a really long time, set up a transfer takes time, and then transfer the file. Sometimes if the file is very small, the setup time is going to take longer than the transfer time, and all of this is slow. So if we put everything into an archive and send it to the sender, and sender unpacks it, then you get a much better speed. So we did some tests on FileZilla versus FileCatalyst on like a 20,000 files, a file set of 20,000 records or 20,000 files. We were doing that in about an hour. FileZilla was taking 24 hours because it just takes so much time to set up a transfer for each one little file. So these are some of the tools besides the acceleration, as we have these other tools as well built in to help you. So how does this look in real life? So let me show you here. So if you go to our website, FileCatalyst.com, you can get to this bandwidth calculator here we've built in for you. And here you can have some examples. We put some key areas in the world, and you can select where you want to go from. So let's do an example here. Let's say I want to go from LA to London. Okay, sorry, London to LA. So now we're going London to LA. We our map already picked 131 milliseconds latency, which is this is the standard. So you can go online and you can search average latency between different geographical locations, and it will give you the average latency. Of course, that latency could be a little bit less or could be a little bit more, but there will be latency because it's based on speed of light. Like there's only this much that speed of light goes at a certain speed, and this will always create a delay. So here I have I'm going to pick the 1 gig file. It's already picked, and I'm going to pick here, let's say, a 50 megabit line. So this is the result. So with FileCatalyst, this file transfer of 1 gig file will take you about 2 minutes 55 seconds. With TCP, this is going to take you 36 minutes. So it's quite an improvement of 12 times. Bandwidth utilization, you can see with TCP, you'll be looking at 50 megabits, and with FileCatalyst, you'll be looking at 50 megabits or 49. And with TCP, you'll be looking at 3.9 megabits. So you're actually not utilizing your entire pipe when you're going through this example. So this is an example that shows you long distance. Let's see what happens if I now shorten this distance. So now I'm going to go London to London. So now you can see that my latency within a city is about 15 milliseconds. So it's a very, very small delay because you're not going far. I still have the 50 megabit line and I still have the 1 gig file. So we can see with FileCatalyst now, this takes 2 minutes 55 seconds, and with TCP takes 4 minutes and 10 seconds. So it's still an improvement. It's much smaller, but you can see that it's predictable with FileCatalyst. It was 2 minutes 55 seconds to LA or 2 minutes 55 seconds to London. So you always know what you're going to get versus with TCP now, well, you're slower or faster and so on. So let's pick another example here. We're going to use a satellite connection this time. So we're going to go from let's say this time we'll pick New York and a satellite link. So satellite links have very high latency. As you can see here, we averaged it out to 640 milliseconds, but it could be much more. Like we've seen satellite transmissions taking up to a second delay because the signal now has to travel into outer space and come back down. It's quite a long haul. So here, of course, we're not going to have a 50 megabit line because that's way too big for satellites. We do have clients with that, but that's not a common thing. So I'll pick here a 20 megabit satellite connection from to New York. You can now see it's still delay, and you can see the difference in speed here. So FileCatalyst takes 7 minutes to transfer that 1 gig file. TCP will take 3 hours, and you can see your bandwidth utilization. So this tool is here. I can encourage you to try it if you have your specific use cases. If you need specific cities that we're missing, we'll pick something nearby. It's an approximation, of course, but it gives you an idea of what to expect. So we have three. So that's it for our protocol and speed improvements. We're going to talk about now our product portfolio because, yeah, it's good to have this fast speed, high-speed transfers, and efficient protocol for moving a lot of files. But if it's not encapsulated in a nice application that is easy to use, well, then it doesn't matter what we have. So really, everything boils down to the application level and the user experience. So we have three products. We have FileCatalyst Direct, which is our core file transfer application. This is our point-to-point file transfer application. We have FileCatalyst Central. It's for managing your FileCatalyst deployment. So let's say you have a couple of servers deployed. You might have some hot folders, which I'll be talking in a minute, and all of this comes together. And then we have Workflow, which is our web-based portal for moving files over the web. So imagine here the user logs in via the web, and they are showed some kind of custom interface where they can either upload files or download files from, or send files to an email address. I'll go briefly through those here in my demo. So let's go through Direct really quickly. So Direct, this is a standard deployment. It's a very simplified graphic, but it gives you an idea that we have a FileCatalyst server located in a central office, usually, where all the files reside. FileCatalyst server is connected to some kind of a network attached storage, or maybe it's attached to an object store. And then there's an internet. This internet can be any IP network, so it could be regular, fiber, microwave, satellite, anything that has an IP link, we can send files over. And then on the other side, you have different client applications that can either push files to the storage or pull files from the storage. So why do we have so many different client apps? Well, because each client application has different use case. So hot folder is for automation. So here I kind of talk about it, that hot folder is for automation. Desktop is our Express, Transfer Agent Express desktop app that the user installs and manually moves files. So it has an interface similar to like FileZilla. Browser, we have a plugin based on Transfer Agent that allow you to upload, download, or do two-way transfers. And as well, we provide you a JavaScript interface for it if you want to build something upon that. We have a mobile app. If you go to our Google Play or iTunes, you can find our FileCatalyst app, download it, connect it to your server, and you're off to the races to send files. And then as well, we have a huge, a big choice of different API integrations, including things like command line, Java and C++ API, .NET, REST, RESTful services as well. So we have the JavaScript API talking about the browser. So all of this is kind of ties in. So the choice is yours, what you can pick here, and whether you want to do automation, whether you want to do integration into other applications, whether you want to do browser-based, all of that is available to you through Direct. As I mentioned, on top of Direct is the central setting for management. So Central will manage all your hot folders and servers, and you can sort of make your own content delivery network based on FileCatalyst tools. And you can kind of sit there and watch what's going on. So before I jump to the next product, let me just show you a quick demo of Direct. So I'm not gonna go, once again, this is very quickly just to get you started and understand how things work. So this is the main console for FileCatalyst server. Here you list your users. Each user is mapped to a specific local directory, and this is their home directory. This is what they see when they log in through a client and see the files. This is where they upload files. Optionally, you can create virtual folders. So virtual folders are folders that exist somewhere else on the network or on the drive and are mapped to a specific user. So if I go here to this user, for example, I can see which user is allowed to this folder. So for example, I want to do read write for TA, user TA, and now user TA has access to this specific virtual folder. You can create as many virtual folders as you want. Files can be sitting on local storage, or you can use UNC paths, or you can use NFS mounts if you want to mount it. The key here is that server has to be in a local area network to the storage, so you can connect. If you're connecting to other file systems, as I mentioned, we have connectivity for a number of different storage vendors, so you can connect it to Amazon S3, OpenStack. You can create a Azure blob, and you can put in your information here, and this essentially creates like a virtual file system, and then you can map a user to a specific bucket for connectivity. So when you're dropping files, this will go. So the idea here, when I'll get into cloud in a minute, but the idea is that the FileCatalyst server would always sit very close to the cloud storage and provide acceleration to for the objects to being sent. So the long leg is done via UDP, and the short leg between the server and the storage would be using TCP or HTTP transfers with the API. So here are my users. I'm not going to go through much more here, but now I'm going to spin up my FileCatalyst hot folder. And here's my FileCatalyst hot folder. I'm not going to go through all the options, but the idea is that you can create a site. You specify which hot folder you wish to monitor, and now you decide, you create a task. The task can be either pushing or uploading or downloading, so it's a push or pull task. You can design the schedule. You decide, what file sets you want to use, and which files. Maybe you just want to move all the MP4 files. So then you can say move only MP4 files, and then you decide what happens afterwards. Nothing happens. Moving files to an archived folder, deleting the folder, whatever the options you want, you can decide. And as well, you can deal with growing files. So let's say you're encoding a very large file. It might take 3 hours. Well, we can start moving it while it's still being built. So this is a big thing, especially in the media side where you have a lot of big files. So here in this case, I'm just going to execute this transfer. And now I can see this transfer happening on a hot folder. You can see the speed. You can see how many files I need to send. And similarly on the server, I can see this transfer here as well. So here my files are going on the server, and I can also manipulate these file transfers via the server as well. So I can speed up, slow down. So hot folders for automation, but the concept of moving large file, whether you're using the CLI, the command line, or the Java API, the same concepts apply. I mean, you don't have maybe the fancy graphics, but you can do all of this programmatically or through a CLI, or you can do it via the web. I'll show you the web in a minute once I get to workflow, but there is a web component built into Direct as well. So that's the transfer. That's really the in essence the transfer of FileCatalyst Direct. So let's go continue with this. So the next product I wanted to talk to you about was our FileCatalyst workflow. So you think of FileCatalyst workflow as a web-based file transfer portal. It can do file submission, for example. So if you want to provide a link to a user and they are able to upload files, you just give them this link and they can upload files. Additionally, with workflow combines also something called metadata capture. So you can capture any information. You can create an upload form or like a form where you put whatever fields you want. You can ask, for example, for the dates, or you can do a drop down, or you can do a text input. So you can require the user to fill out some information, and then they go to the upload step and upload the files. And altogether, this is called a job. A job can have multiple fields, multiple files, and you can control based on the information that the user has entered where the files land in your storage. So for example, if a user from a drop-down of selects between, let's say, I don't know, this is instead of quality control, it's post-production, you can drop it to a different part of your storage to prepare to pick it up by a different part of your backend workflow. So that's one part of workflow. Another facet of workflow is ability to send files to an email address. So if you want to you have 5 recipients, you want to send them this large 5 gig file. It won't go through email. It won't go through, your online cloud storage because it's limited to 2 or 5 gigs. You can select your file and send it to 5 recipients, and those will get a link. Those recipients will get a link to download the file. Once they get the link, they can optionally install the transfer agent app and then get acceleration for downloads. If they don't install transfer agent, they'll just get HTTP, but at least it will still handle those very large files. You also have something called, the last one here is creating web folders. So you can create a number of group folders, assign users to them, and then those users can collaborate in that space. That becomes their user space. So you can select which users can upload files to it and modify files, which users can only download from the web folder, and also you can designate notifications, who gets notified when files get changed in the web folder, as well as you get full tracking of who changed what in the folder. So essentially it's like a web-based folder for collaboration. And the last part of workflow is that it actually has ability to integrate our hot folder. So what I showed you in the hot folder, you can also integrate it with workflow. And now you'll be able to do automated synchronization, for example, of file area, or automatically submit a job. As soon as the file appears, this creates a job and sends out email links to the users, to the recipients, that they can pick up the files. And of course, there's endless customization options, from the look and feel to language entries to the way the upload process goes. So you can decide whether you want the user first to upload files, then enter a form, or do a form, then upload, where these users are only allowed to see file areas, only they're allowed to submit jobs of certain types, pre-populate the entries on the form for them. All of that is created, and then you can also customize the sort of the XML file that is generated from all of this job record that then can be passed on to your other back office information to, it could be a MAM, it could be some other application that can parse those XML files or JSON files that has the job definition. So to give you details on that, so this is a standard login page for workflow. I'm just going to do a very simple use case here to give you an idea how it works. When a user logs in, they see all the previous jobs they transferred. So now I'm just going to go to distribution. This is where I'm selecting my job type. And now you can see here, now I'm entering my recipient. So I can select the number of recipients. I have an autocomplete with an address book that can links in with LDAP or Active Directory. And I can enter some information. Files for demo. And workflow has ability to have different delivery security options. So you could have option where nothing is required, to something that is an automatically generated PIN that the system creates like automatic password, to something that I have to provide my own password, and then I have to call the recipient with this password, to something called email authentication. So email authentication will basically send like a token, a separate email and a token to the recipient, and then the recipient has to click on this link. This completely eliminates the problem of recipients forwarding that email to others to download, because they'll have to have this token, and tokens are only valid for like 10 minutes. So this eliminates and increases quite a bit security of who is allowed to get those files. So in this case here, I'm just going to pick PIN, which is going to be automatically generated PIN in the system. And I'm going to go to upload files. So now I can go to workflow. I'm going to go pick my file set. Just selected 3 files to upload. And now what I'm doing actually is I'm using transfer agent. So the transfer agent that I talked about in Direct is actually integrated in workflow to provide you web-based transfers. So now you can see the file is transferred, and I'm done here as a sender with what to do. So now I'm going to go into my email, and here's the email that was sent out. The system sends another 2 emails. One is a confirmation to the sender, and one is the confirmation to the administrator. And the third email is actually the recipient. That's why I see 3 here. But you can see here's the files that were sent. I'll need this PIN number, and I click on the link. And now I'm pretending to be the recipient. So you can see here, it's now prompting me for that PIN that was automatically generated. If it was a user-generated password, it wouldn't have provided it. So somebody else, that password would have to been sent a different way. And now I have my files. So optionally, what you can see here is that if it's a video material, workflow can actually create a small thumbnail of the video, plus you can play a little video, and you can see here you can play a little video for a little thumbnail video too, so the user can decide what to download. If these were all like 10 gig files, I'm not going to have to sit here download them all to figure out what I want. In this case here, I'm just going to click on download all, and of course all the tracking, like that I access the files, I downloaded the files, then when the job is marked as complete, all of this is automated with all the email and notifications are sent. So it's a very simple tool for the web, and also there's a full API for it. So you can do all of this, what I've done, you can do it via an API as well. So that's workflow. And Central is the last product that I wanted to give you a short demo of. It's your ability to combine your hot folders, your servers into one big content delivery network, and then using Central as management for it. So it's like a visibility layer to all of this. So let me just log in here as admin into Central, and you can do a number of things here. So right now I only have one hot folder created, the demo I just showed you. I have transfer agents. That's the one I showed you for workflow, and they are both pointing to FileCatalyst server because it's the FileCatalyst server receiving the files. I can load up multiple maps. I could have one deployment for my global. I could have another deployment for Europe. I can make a number of maps. I can also generate reports based on region or areas. But if I transfer files through here, so let me just start a transfer here. You will see that these links will light up, so you know right away what's going on, who's transferring files, what files are going, and get the reports. You can also browse into these nodes and initiate manual transfers. So for example here, I just connected to the transfer agent. Oh, sorry. I can connect to the transfer agent, and now I can transfer files from this node to anywhere else in the system. Again, Central has a very strong REST API where you can do transfers from one node to another. You can monitor things through the REST API. You can configure things through the API, and same thing here. I can configure every node. So I can configure whatever I want to see here. So this is, in essence, this is your central. This is your central. Your central deployment and your visibility layer to all of the transfers. So cloud storage integration. What we can do is we provide a number of ways to integrate and move content. Instead of using the slow HTTP transfers that most cloud vendors provide, you can use one of our strong tools like a hot folder or CLI or API or even Central to move content into the cloud storage. So first of all, you get acceleration, you get management, you get visibility to everything that is happening on the system, instead of using the command line HTTP transfers that most vendors provide, like for S3, for example, S3 or Windows Azure. These command line tools are, first of all, not very fast, and second of all, have very little management built in. So here you get all of that built in. So some of the public clouds we work with Amazon S3, we work with Windows Azure, Blob Storage, OpenStack, Wasabi, Backblaze. We work with many others, private cloud solution partners, so like Swift, Cloudian, Caringo, Dell, all of these as well we work with and provide you a much stronger tools for moving these files. So it's mostly based on an S3 object store API that has been then tested and verified, plus lightly modified to accommodate each of these vendors. So the S3 integration is a bit of a standard in this space, but it doesn't mean that each vendor has a perfect S3. Some work a little bit better, some will work worse. So sometimes we had to put some tweaks in those to make them work perfectly and with good speeds with FileCatalyst. And all of this is integrated, as I mentioned to you, on the server as a virtual file system, and you can assign them to any user on the server and use any tools. All right, so we're almost at the end here. Let's go through some licensing options. So our traditional way of licensing FileCatalyst has been always a perpetual license. You buy a license, it is for life. There's an optional 20% annual support and maintenance fee that gives you upgrades, support. And what's good here is that there's an upfront capital cost, but it's predictable. You know how much you're going to pay. You know how much you're going to pay every year so for support. There's no data caps, so you can use as much as you want of the solution. It's like all you can eat solution. We include the first year of support. It is unmetered, as I mentioned, so there's no other costs. It's based on the specific bandwidth you wish to optimize and concurrency, like how many transfers you want to support. And we can the software tools like the hot folder, CLI, transfer agent, all of this can be licensed either as an all-inclusive where you can get all the tools, or you can do a la carte where you pick and choose the tools you want. License fee for this starts at around $3,000 and comes with 5 concurrent connections plus the Express application. Prices go up from there and really depend on the bandwidth and the concurrency you want. Once again, because you can pick and choose what you want, it could be fairly inexpensive if you go into let's say a la carte with very specific needs versus getting an all-inclusive. Consumption. So this is something we launched last year, in probably late last year. The consumption really started taking off in the early this year. So this is you get a license essentially for free. There's no cost for it. The license maps to our billing server online, and the server transmits how much data you've pushed through it. So it transmits how many gigs you sent in or out, and then based on your usage, you get billed. So the cost of billing data starts at 35 cents a gig, and then scales down as you transfer more. So if you transfer, the first terabyte, this might be at 35 cents. The second terabyte will be now at 20 cents, and it drops and drops so on until I think the lowest tier is like 5 cents, 3 cents a gig. If you get to the high usage, you don't have bandwidth controls. Like you can send at speeds as you want. There's no concurrency limit as well, because you don't pay for any of this. So where is this good? This is good for temporary projects. You have a project that lasts 2 months. You'll be moving 2 terabytes of data. This is a perfect tool for you. You sign up, you get a free license, and you go. You don't have to. Once your project is finished, you pay up what you've used, and you're done. There's of course no low entry. There's low entry cost, or no cost really to entry except for your system and the storage and stuff. But it's perfect for predictable volume. If all of a sudden your volume goes, 1 week you're doing 5 gigs and next week you're doing 17 terabytes, well, this might not be the right solution. Then looking at a perpetual license might be better. This can be deployed on anywhere. You can do it on premise or any cloud provider, wherever you need the virtual system where you can run the FileCatalyst. So that's the consumption. Cloud marketplace. So if you go into, we started this about 3 years ago, the cloud marketplaces, and you can go to now like AWS or Azure or Google, and you can find an instance, an image of instance that has FileCatalyst pre-installed, and then you get billed by the hour. And depends, the costs start as little as $1.75 per hour and scales up with the size of the node. Once again, this is ideal for those that want to move data into a cloud storage and they need to spin up an instance for transferring data. So this is again perfect for those that don't have any hardware and want to do accelerated file transfer. And again, you're billed per hour. So you have a project, you turn it on, use it, turn it off, and the costs are flat. Also here there's bandwidth is not really restricted, but it's restricted by the size of the instance. So if you, for example, you take a AWS medium-sized instance, well, that's going to get you maybe at most 700 megabits. So we don't really lock it down, but it's locked per instance because the instance cannot give you a faster speed. So, and that's why the cost per hour increases as the power of the instance goes up. Next service we provide, it's software as a service. So this is a new product we're launching. It's going to be based on FileCatalyst workflow. It's really going to be workflow in the cloud, and will give you ability to transfer data, get a turnkey solution. So you pay your $10 per user per month. You add the options here. For example, you want automation for $50 a month, or API. You pay for the storage costs, so we charge a penny per gig you store with us, and for every data transfer, every gig you transfer, you pay us 6 cents, and you can use it as much as you want. Again, there's no need for hardware storage. The nice part here is that you can bring your own cloud storage, or you can buy a FileCatalyst service on-premise server and connect to FileCatalyst Spaces. So Spaces is really workflow on the cloud, as we would like to call it. And you have a lot of options here. So you can bring your own cloud storage. You can connect to your existing FileCatalyst server that runs as perhaps a perpetual license or consumption license on your premise, or you can buy from us the space and the server and all that stuff, and then you don't have to do anything. So it's literally with very little effort, you can have a full system up and running. So this is something coming very soon. I just wanted to mention it because our teams are working hard to get this service launched very, very, very soon. So at this moment, I just, for those that are watching the recording, I just want to thank you for watching. I will be taking questions now, but those that are watching this as a recorded, thank you very much, and I'm going to stop the recording here.